Hello, and welcome to Moving Between the Lines. I'm Jack George, and this is my YouTube channel. Sydney FC haven't been doing well, and I've kind of thought about it a bit, and have found some main problems with their system and everything that's going on, and also, so in this video, I'll be analysing those problems and how they, I guess, changed their system a little bit to kind of help those problems in the last 20-25 minutes in the derby with Narsing, their new Dutch signing, coming on. And then this is a two-part kind of series thing. So in the second video, I'm going to look at what I would do to change for Sydney FC if you're interested. And, like how do they improve, how I think they should improve and everything. So I hope you enjoy this. So a main issue with Sydney, I guess, is in terms of their build-up. So it's playing through the press and also, I guess, just like not having Luke Braddon, which is unlucky because he tore his ACL and there's nothing you can do about that. But so, in Donachie and Wilkinson, Sydney have two good defenders in their own right, but neither of them are great at progressing the ball in between the lines. So say, because Retre's opened up here and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4. Donachie usually won't play this, I guess, medium to high risk pass in here to help progress play. He'll then look to play He'll instead look to play Grant out wide like here, or shuffle across to Wilkinson. And then the problem is when the ball goes to Wilkinson's a similar kind of player. So if they're all shuffling across and Caceres kind of finds a pocket here, Wilkinson never really plays that pass in between the lines. Because if he plays that pass, and this is kind of like very stretched, and this doesn't happen usually, but it's on the off chance, and this is what good ball playing defenders do. Caceres can turn, and now you look at the space he has. Caceres is fantastic at dribbling the ball up the field progressively. So he has this space, and all of a sudden LaFondre and Bobo can split, or Bobo can run this central channel, and Ninkovic can supply verticality here. So they essentially have something, and then Barbarossa, so they essentially have like the point is that neither of them really do that. So that's not Caceres, that's the ball. So then it goes up to here, and so this is the problem, is when they get pressed, particularly on this right side. So with Barbarouses as a right attacking midfielder, he'll always position himself here to receive the ball, and Retre is a good player but isn't great at receiving the ball in this kind of position where he's facing this way, so his body's side on. He's not very good at shooting the ball in these positions, so he can be pressed from here. So Grant won't usually play this pass into here because this guy can come up and press him. He'll instead look to go down the line, which is quite, like, it works, but the ball has to go to Barbarouses, which then, I guess, there's, like, space, and these guys would have shifted across, obviously. But, it's hard to kind of keep. And then, so Grant will end up usually playing it back to Donachie, who, like I said, can't really pass it long under pressure. So even if Talbot frees himself out here, it's quite a hard pass to play for anyone, to be fair. Luke Braddon could do it, though, that's the thing. So play it out here, and so he'll play it back to Grant, and then they just press further in, and then they might end up passing it back to Redmayne, who again is a great goalkeeper but isn't a fantastic distributor, and usually either by instruction or by his own personal choice punts the ball really far up the field whenever he receives it, which is fine, but it just makes it like a little bit it's tougher to build up, because the teams will often target those kind of two centre backs when they press. They target, like, they'll actually leave, like, not a lot, because then it becomes obvious, but little bits of space. So maybe Retre will be free here because this guy will be pressing up and getting ready when, say, Donachie has the ball here, because they know he won't play the pass, which means they can kind of double team him and congest the field. And then another thing is with LaFondre and Bobo up front together. LaFondre is alright at, I guess, like, kind of stretching the last line, but he isn't very fast, so struggles to do it, and Bobo isn't fast at all and doesn't really do it. Cam Soba, contrary to some form of belief, is, in my opinion, more of a second striker, so he'll look to, like, get in these kind of pockets and then dribble with the ball either wide or inside. Also doesn't stretch the line very well, which means that, so the fields can, this is why Bahaja kept on getting extended run the team, because the field congests here, and it makes it really hard for them to build up the ball because they're moving further and further deep looking for it, and they have two central defenders who can't really make those passes. So, and then they'll end up just passing back to Redmayne, who kicks it up to, when it's LaFondre and Camso, but they'll rarely win an aerial duel. When it's Bobo, it's more likely, but still, because Bobo's running like this and has to strain his neck muscles to kind of get to it, like, so it doesn't really work. And then so when they have, and then another thing they do is they bring this is more just a point, they bring, when they're pressing, they usually bring one of their central midfielders either into here or just off, so you can see 1, 2, 3, 4 is this line of pressure. So they might not even bring them there, they might just bring them like they're here, and they just bring them here to pick up the ball. But then from there, particularly on the right side, Barbarouses isn't the most comfortable in these kind of pockets, which make it so harder to play it to him, which then kind of congests play. And yeah, so that's a little bit of a problem. It's kind of like unlucky. I have a system that could possibly help it, and I think that City might be switching to a system that could too, because right now the build-up is quite reliant on Ninkovic and Caceres single-handedly breaking the press, which isn't super sustainable. And I guess they've switched to more of a 4-3-3. But another thing they do is they cross quite a lot from stale positions. It seems like they just run out of ideas and they cross into the box. So imagine Bobo as Cam Sober, which is really hard to do because they're different people. But maybe if the ball can get out to Grant. So Grant is a fantastic player and is such a good distributor of the ball, is really smart in his crossing, but for some reason he's playing a lot of like lofted crosses into the box with no real momentum. So when you cross the ball, you want to be crossing it from the byline, where you can make these cutbacks back. This is probably going to get cut out. Where you can make these cutbacks like back into here, where the defenders are both running towards goal, meaning there's more chance of then making a mistake and scoring an own goal or gaining a corner. Or it means that like Bobo can go make a run here and then fake and then drop here and then receive the ball and shoot first time or with a touch. Or you want to be crossing it from where Grant was before. If you're crossing it from there, you want it to be with a high defensive line. Ignore the arrows. You want to be crossing with a high defensive line where your attacker has the momentum and is making a run where they can get the jump over the defender. Not just so, for example, if you guys have watched Le Fondre's corner goal against Kaya FC in that Asian Champions League qualifying match, he's not very tall, but is fantastic in the air when he runs into these positions because he can like leap really high and is really good at reading the flight of the ball, and that's how he scored. Because he doesn't start like here. He starts like, well, maybe from a corner because this is like a bigger field. But he doesn't start like here. He starts like here and runs in and gets contact on the ball because he has the momentum over the defender. So the defender's standing still and has to just clear it away like that. Le Fondre can run in and has that momentum to jump up. But they seem to be crossing a lot where they're like here and they go, oh, well, we've kind of tried everything. Let's cross into the box and hope that Bobo can do something with it. Which, to be fair, before the last few games, he had been literally doing it once a game when he scored like 4 in a row or something from crosses. But now it's not happening as much because it's quite unsustainable. And it'd be better if they crossed like this, which is something that their new signing Narsing will do. And that's what I'm going to talk about now. So Narsing is a really exciting signing for Sydney because not only does he seem to be based off the derby and maybe the game they've played depending on when this goes out, just a really good player. He also seems to indicate a possible switch of formation from the 4-2-2-2. So when he came on in the derby, they switched to a 4-2-3-1. So they had Grant as the right back, the back four, as you can see, midfield two of Caceres, Amini, Ninkovic as the 10, and then Burgess, who's here. He's always there. And then they had Le Fondre on the left wing, kind of, and sometimes Bobo. Narsing as a wide winger, which is really interesting. So it meant that Grant wasn't able to overlap like he usually does and hold the width. He was there and he looked a bit confused by that, which makes sense because he's been used to it for so long. But essentially what happens is when Narsing plays as a wide winger, it means that it's more likely if they'll have to shift across because that, and they'll end up double teaming him most likely because he's so fantastic at reaching the byline and cutting back. So he like kind of feints his way to the byline and then cuts back, which is going to work really well with Le Fondre, who thrives off that poaching. And then in the 4-3-3, which is my suggested formation, a winger, someone like Barbarouses or Cam Sober running in the back post, and then people attacking from these areas. But anyway, it's a 4-2-3-1 is what they seem to play. But Narsing they remain wide, which is smart, because what it does is it means when you shift him over here, it opens up space for Ninkovic and Burgess, who actually make really clever runs in behind. So Narsing can play this pass Or alternatively, Grant can make an underlapping run here to support him and either and drag this player away. Or if this player goes, then or like doesn't skip up with him, that's a really good ball. This is something Melbourne City do a lot. However, Grant seemed to just hold his position, which was a bit weird. I think it was more just because it probably hasn't been coached that much, and he's a bit like, what's going on? Because it's quite a unique role. Because he's essentially playing almost as an inverted sitting fullback, but he will hopefully learn to make those because he's fantastic at making vertical runs behind the defense. Hopefully he'll learn how to make those underlapping runs and interchange with Narsingh, because it means that what he can do is he can come in here inverted and then they can shift over like this, which then occupies another half space, and then Ninkovic can kind of have a free roll here. And if this is a 4-3-3 as I want it to be, say Meany would never be the 6 in my opinion, but say he is just because he's number 6 and he's there, and then Ninkovic and Caceres switch, what they can do is they can create triangles here, which just allow them to retain the ball, and then Grant can cross. Remember what I said about with the crossing, you want to gain momentum. Crossing from the half spaces in kind of this position, because it's so deep, will kind of always gain momentum. And even if Le Fondre's playing on the left, I think this actually could work when like later in the game as like a sub, because he's quite good at covering pressing angles, is quite energetic, is good at running inside from the left with an overlapping fullback here. Le Fondre could be really good at attacking these balls here. From Grant, or even Barbarouses playing off the left. So Grant can cross it in from here and they'll always have momentum. Or he can play it out to Narsingh, who can then get one-on-one with his defender. If this guy shifts across, Caceres or Grant can run in here. So say he drags him here, and then they're double teamed, then Grant can offer, and then yet again they can retain possession here. What's it called? And then like Caceres can drop off, blah blah blah, and they continue forming these triangles, which either allow Narsingh to get to the byline and cut it back, a sustainable creation of chances. Grant to cross it from deep, less sustainable, but considering Grant's quality and smart back press runs, could be sustainable. And also just means that space opens up between the lines. So say Ninkovic can drift over here, and the striker can come off the shoulder, and Ninkovic can receive the ball here, and Ninkovic in space is always a good thing for Sydney, bad thing for opposition. So I think it's really, really interesting, and I think it could work really well. I think that if they switch to a 4-3-3, I'd prefer, or a 4-2-3-1, with Narsingh as a wide winger, with Grant inverted kind of sitting and then making these runs, and even like when they want to, Caceres can come out here and collect the ball and do the same thing, and Grant can just be sitting, because he kind of does that now anyway sometimes. So he's clearly somewhat comfortable playing inside as a auxiliary midfielder, and I think he could definitely do a really good role for Sydney, with Narsingh holding width, getting crosses in, taking on his man, and then Grant just kind of sitting and then making those clever runs, and Caceres also holding the half space, and then Grant can obviously overlap when need be. So really cool, could be really fun to see. And one last thing, Burgess is fantastic as a 10 in these kind of one-on-one situations, and could work really well in this. So if Ninkovic comes out, because he won't play every game because he's old, if they do the same thing on the left or even on the right, say Caceres and Burgess switch sides, because I think in general, who knows, if Burgess can get into these positions kind of like on the edge of the box, so this is where it works well. Let's move that. Let's get rid of that arrow. It works well because Narsingh can play that pass in behind to Burgess. Burgess in this position is so dangerous because he's quite comfortable cutting back with his right foot and his left foot. And he's fantastic at just maneuvering space to do it. Like, I can't show it here. Just watch him. It's really fun to watch. He's great in one-on-ones. And so I think he could really form a key part of those triangles, and it would just mean proper, like, consistent rotations, Narsingh taking on players, Burgess taking on players, Grant crossing from deep and making underlapping runs. I think it would work really well. And I've said that about 10 times in different ways now, but I think it would work really well, and it's exciting. But yeah, so it's really exciting. And then obviously next video I'll be explaining kind of how I've kind of done it here, but how I'll be playing, how I'd like to see the team play. But thank you so much if you've gone to the end. It really means a lot to me. So thank you, and I hope you guys individually have a great week, because you're the only ones that will see this. So thank you so much, and I'll be back in a couple of days, 1 to 2 days, with my video on how I think Sydney should play.